Welcome and thanks for joining me on the Gut Health Turnaround Series 2.0. 21 ways to heal your gut, reclaim your energy, and look and feel amazing. My name is Leah Kline and I'm your host for this. And today I'm being joined by Dr. Linell King. I hope I said that right.
Linell.
Linell, okay. And he's going to be talking about 3 massive mistakes that people make that keep them struggling with their gut. A little bit of background information: disillusioned with Western medicine and its dependence on prescription drugs. Dr. King traveled to Chennai, India, where he gathered with people representing faith and healing methods from all over the world. The relationships he built and knowledge he gained about holistic methods of healing transformed his view regarding healing the body. This experience became a pillar of his future contributions to medicine. Determined to combine science, behavioral health, and spirituality, Dr. King began paving the way for an unprecedented, all-encompassing form of healing. After realizing how his unique approach to health and weight management drastically changed the lives of his patients, Dr. King was determined to share this life-altering information with as many people as possible. He diligently crafted what was later became a #1 bestseller, Mastering Vitality, and insight into combining science, behavioral health, and spirituality to transform your mind and your health. So let's dive a little deeper into that. And why did you decide to leave traditional medicine and pursue helping people with mastering their health?
Yeah, well, thank you. First of all, thanks so much for having me here. This is wonderful what you're doing and so needed. So it all really started with kind of like a tragic situation in my own life. When I was in residency at Johns Hopkins, I got a phone call from my mom saying that my dad was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. Mm-hmm. And being a physician, at the time, I knew instantly what that meant. I mean, pretty much a 4-month death sentence, according to the textbooks. Mm-hmm. And my mom didn't even realize what she was telling me. I mean, I said, "Mom, are you sure that they said pancreatic and not prostate? Because it comes with a far, far different prognosis." She says, "No, I'm pretty sure it was pancreatic." And so instantly, I left residency, flew home. I had to have the hardest conversation ever, to tell my dad. I mean, he was my best friend. We were super close. He's the best man in my wedding. And he'd never been sick in his life and on no medications. And to tell him, that the docs are saying that he's not going to be around in 4 months was heartbreaking. And explaining that to my mom. And so my dad was a fighter. He's like, "Well, I'm not going to just lay down and die. I want to do everything that we can." So we got the best oncologist. We got, the best surgeon. And he had this horrendous surgical procedure called a Whipple procedure. Well, he was in the hospital for a month. I watched my dad wither away to almost nothing. He had to learn how to eat again, learn how to walk again. He was confused because he was drugged up on morphine. And then at the end of a whole month in the hospital, the docs say, "Well, we got the whole mass, but likely there's still cancer cells there, and so recommended chemo." And my dad was like, "I've suffered enough." And plus, chemo wasn't shown to really do anything for pancreatic cancer. He says, "I've suffered enough. All I want to do is go home." So we got him home. And I said, "So, Pop, what do you want to do?" And he says, "Well, again, I don't want to just lay down and die. I want to try to do something." So I did some research, and I found the Optimal Health Institute in San Diego. And I enrolled us both there for 2 weeks. And we were only able to be there a week because my dad's lungs started filling up with malignant fluid filled with cancer cells. But during the 1 week that we were there, I learned more about the digestive system, more about mind, body, spirit connection, more about how we're supposed to eat, more about the whole, gut and microbiome. I learned more about all of that in that 1 week that I was there than the 4 years I had spent in medical school and the 2 years I had completed at the time at Johns Hopkins. And it wasn't like they weren't great programs, the best in the world, but they focus on disease. They focus on disease care and what to do after the disease already shows up. They did not focus any on what to do to really prevent or live an optimal life of optimal health. Mm-hmm. And so that's really what started it all and really embedded, I was determined that I was not going to allow anyone to suffer or die without having the knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And after that, you would think that with all this knowledge, I would turn my life around, my health around, and everyone else's. But it was so painful after my dad's death. Everything that I learned was linked, and so it took me years, and I had to do this whole massive personal development journey. You mentioned I traveled the world with Tony Robbins. I went to India a couple times on some spiritual journeys, and it took all that for me to really embrace my true mission and my true passion, which is what I'm doing now, and which inspired the book Mastering Vitality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So how has that been different for you, teaching that to people?
Yeah, it's been drastically different because before I really started on this journey, I owned these massive medical groups. We're in multiple cities. We had like about 15 to 20 docs working for us. And we were primarily hospitalists. So we were taking care of people after they're already in the hospital, when the horse is out of the barn, right? And I felt like I was just tire patching, to be quite honest. And I wasn't being fulfilled. I wasn't feeling fulfilled. And all I was doing was prescribing medications. I'm an internal medicine doc. That's what we do, right? And so all I was doing was prescribing medications and tire patching, putting a Band-Aid on the issue and not really getting towards it. And then what was happening is my own health was suffering. I gained about 30 pounds. I had severe back pain. I was, going into, a state of like mild depression, and I was always a happy person, so for me to like not feel fulfilled was something new. And so that's when I knew, I'm like, I had all the money that I wanted. My business was booming, but my health was suffering and I wasn't fulfilled. I wasn't happy. And I knew something had to change. And so that's when, I turned everything around. So now I actually help people that are invested in their health, that actually wants to make that change, right? And are motivated. Before, no one asked to see me in the hospital. They just ended up there.
Yeah.
So it's a huge difference because now I can, it's when I first realized how powerful this was, the patients that I was taking care of in the hospital, once they got out of the hospital, I would work with them on a one-on-one basis. And patients that were in and out of the hospital at least once, twice a year, they never went in the hospital again. And then they were getting to their ideal body weight. I was getting them off of medications, and their energy levels were booming, and their overall life was improving. And I'm like, man, if only I could just do this for everyone, right?
Yeah.
And so then that's what I decided to do.
Mm-hmm. Well, that is so key when you're working with people for them to be completely invested in change.
Absolutely.
Because it's like if that investment is not there, it's like nothing can happen, really. I mean,
yes.
They'll just keep going back to their old way of doing things, for one thing.
Yes. And a lot of them, they don't know any different, and then there's so many people that do know differently, but they don't know even where to begin. And then there's some people that know, they know better. They know where to begin and what to do, but then they just don't do it.
Yeah. And at that point, it's like, okay, well, you've got all the tools. It's up to you.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. So what are the 3 mistakes that keep people struggling?
Well, there's what I've found, and after taking care of thousands of people, there's really it boils down to three things that keep people struggling. The first thing is exercise is important, but a lot of people feel like if I could just get back in the gym, like when I was younger, all my health problems would go away. And so they try to exercise the weight off. They try to exercise themselves back into good health. And the trouble is when you're trying to heal yourself from the inside out, right? Especially, as you know, it all starts here in the gut. When you're trying to heal yourself from the inside out, it doesn't start in the gym. That's external. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't want anyone going out there saying, Dr. King said I don't have to exercise anymore. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that exercise is important, but you have to use it correctly. Because if you use it incorrectly, which I would say 90% of the people that I come across are using exercise incorrectly, then it can cause worsening gut problems because of the stress and the stress hormones that are created, right? It also causes people to become discouraged because they try to exercise the weight off. Obesity is a marker of bad health. And so when you have a disruptive gut, when your health is bad, it usually shows up in the form of weight gain. And so that's like a very easy detector, is the people that are overweight, there's something going on with my health and I need to turn it around. And then the first thing that they do is they try to go to the gym. And so if you think about how long it takes to burn 1,000 calories, probably a couple hours, depending on, how rigorously you're working out. Well, how long does it take to eat 1,000 calories? A couple minutes.
Yeah, big difference.
Exactly. And so what happens is they bust their ass for like 2 hours. They feel like, you know what, I've worked out. I'm going to pat myself on the back. I deserve a treat. And then they go and they eat junk. And now they feel horrible. They're not losing any weight. And in some cases, they're gaining it, right? Because they're gaining muscle. And then they're not, burning calories. And so they end up gaining weight and they get discouraged. And then they just give up and throw their hands up and say, what's the use, right? And so that's another way that exercise really can be very harmful. The other way is if someone's overweight and unhealthy, the last thing that you want to do is start out exercising, because you go in these gyms, these CrossFit gyms, people are getting injured left and right, or they're trying to do something that they did 30 years ago. Their joints aren't made for it. They're carrying too much weight on their frame, and they're setting themselves up for injury. And so once they injure themselves, boom, now they're really sedentary.
Yeah.
So instead, I say get rid of the exercise, replace it with fun aerobic activity. What is that? What is fun aerobic activity? Well, think back of things that you enjoyed doing when you were younger and start doing some of those things again. It could be dancing. I love salsa dancing. People, I have YouTube videos of me salsa dancing. I love salsa dancing. So dancing is one of them. Playing tennis, getting out there playing basketball, play with your kids, play with your grandkids. Because as a child, we weren't saying, no one told us, go outside and exercise. No, what did they say? Go outside and play. Mm-hmm. And so that is what I encourage all my clients to do, is to find some type of fun aerobic activity. It clears the mind. It doesn't put stress on the body. You don't release all these stress hormones. And so if you do have, a dysregulatory gut, especially, gastritis and things of that nature, you're not worsening that because you're doing something fun rather than stressful.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's one of the things that I will frequently say is, on stress reduction, is just go take a walk.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And there's a big difference between going and taking a walk and then signing up for your local boot camp.
Yeah.
At the gym, right?
Yeah, it's something physical fitness is something you have to work up to, and you do have to have, the building blocks in your body and the ability to just be able to handle it in the first place.
Yes. So I help people, find out what's fun for them and do it safely where it's going to actually support their body rather than destroy it. Mm-hmm. So the second thing is going at it alone. I don't know what it is about health, but people think that they can just read a book or jump on the internet and then do it themselves. I just don't really understand. Well, I do understand because I'm guilty of it myself. My dad was a plumber by trade, right? Mm-hmm. And for whatever reason, when anything goes on in the house, I have a leaky faucet or whatever, I think because my dad was a plumber, obviously he genetically transferred all of his knowledge into me, and I should be able to fix anything, in the house. I learned the hard way, And so, but I tell people all the time, if you're injured, you go to a professional. Your gut is no different. If you have something going on internally, if you're not feeling right, if you're bloated, if you have excess weight gain, if you're feeling sluggish, if you're having chest pain, shortness of breath, foggy brain, whatever it is that you're having, something is not right. Something is out of order, and you need a professional to help you sort through that. You also need a professional to help you put together a plan so that you can be a participant in your own rescue. So many people go to docs, right? They go to physicians, and physicians have 15 minutes, which is only enough time to write your prescription. To be quite honest, right? And so that's not fixing the problem. That's saying, shut up and get out of my office. And so, and not putting all the blames on the docs, a lot of times patients would come in with that expectation. Yeah. I used to tell them, like, well, listen, you need to change the way that you're eating. You need to really, get more movement. Stop being so sedentary. Doc, I didn't come in here for that. Write me a prescription and make this pain go away. And so it's on both sides. But so I wouldn't suggest just the straight traditional medical route. In fact, I really wouldn't suggest that you go even alternative medicine. I don't recommend going in looking for someone to fix your problem, because the problem is within inside of you, and likely it's something that you're doing, something that you're eating that caused it in the first place. And so only you can heal it, but you need guidance and you need help. And so you really need someone, a professional, to coach you through that. So that's the second mistake, is people are trying to go at it on their own. They're wasting valuable time, valuable money, and most important, valuable health.
Mm-hmm. That is so true, because there's a lot of stuff out there, and to know, what direction to go, you can get schizophrenic in the process.
Yes, absolutely. So whoever's out there listening to your series, this is beautiful. You're giving a great platform of wonderful information that's really life-saving. And there's going to be a lot. 21 days of information, right? That's a lot of information. But what I encourage everyone to do is see who you resonate with, and pick a few people that you resonate with. Reach out to them and get help. Don't just, take a bunch of notes and write down all the information and try to apply it yourself. Actually see who you resonate with. Who do you, trust? Who's accomplished whatever it is that you want to accomplish, right? If you want to be a UFC fighter, don't call me, okay? Because I can't help you. But if you want to get down to your ideal body weight, if you've been struggling with your weight, if you've been struggling with an illness or a sickness, then I'm the person to call. But find out who can get you to where you want to be. Don't try to go at it alone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've learned from personal experience the value of having a coach in the process.
Yes. Even I have a coach. Everyone needs a coach. Michael Jordan, when he was at his best, he had a coach. All the great professional athletes, they all have coaches to get them to the next level. That's the first thing that you realize is what you don't know, and find out who knows what you don't to get you to that next level. And the third thing is not putting together a realistic plan. This is your life, and whatever the journey that you're starting out on from today on is going to be for the rest of your life. And so if you know that whatever you're doing, you're not willing to sustain that forever, then it's the wrong plan. And so I see people that say, oh, I got to take these 13 supplements. I got to go and work out at CrossFit. I need to, run a few miles a day. They're setting up these huge plans, or getting on these crazy diets, and it's not sustainable. It doesn't work. And that's one of the main things that I really talk about in my book is simple and sustainable. Steps to a simple and sustainable plan to being able to get to your ideal body weight, to live pain-free, right? That is so important. And that, I think, really, it sabotages people. I see it all the time. You can have the best coach. You can have the best information. But if your plan is difficult, painful, or just plain out unrealistic, you're not going to follow it more than a couple weeks.
And of course, sustainable, the long-term change comes from doing it for more than 2 weeks, obviously.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That is, you couldn't have said it better. And so it's really important to have someone construct that plan. I work with a lot of business owners, a lot of executives, and so they understand that concept of putting together a business plan for their business, right? And marching out the steps, figuring out who they're going to delegate what to. And once they have it, on paper, and it seems like it's sustainable, then they put it into action. They understand that. And so what I do is I take that same concept and I walk them through the same process that they would do with their business, except for their health. So they see it all on paper. They see, yes, I can do that. I can sustain that. That's, in fact, that's a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. And then boom, we push the button and implement the plan.
So speaking of implementation, what would be something that you would suggest to our listeners that they could do today?
They could do today? Well, the first thing that I would do is to get clear, on what it is that you're trying to accomplish. Okay, get clear on your vision. The first chapter, the shameless plug right here, but if you haven't gotten my book, you need to get it. The very first chapter in this book, okay, is getting clear on what it is that you want. And so without a clear vision of what you're trying to accomplish, then it's hard to put that plan together. So that's the first step. And then the second step is really committing. Figure out, why do I want to do this? Why is it important? And why is it more important than all the things that I'm putting before my health? And write that out and really get plugged into the emotion behind that, because it's that emotional leverage that's really going to drive you to follow through. Most of the people that come to me are people that just can't seem to stick to a plan. They've tried every diet, they've tried every program, and they're just like, I just can't stick with anything. That's really where I come in and I'm able to help them. And so that's kind of the way that my book was written. It's a very simply written book, but it doesn't just give you information. After every chapter is a step. It's called seven simple and sustainable steps to mastering your vitality, right? And every chapter is a step that, in that plan. And then it gives you very simple action items. And so then at the end, you have a whole plan that is specific to you that is now sustainable.
Mm-hmm. And that's a great insight, because it does all start with our why.
Yes.
That is the beginning of our follow through.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
So why don't you go ahead and tell us about your free gift for our listeners?
Well, it just so happens that because I do feel, because it's so incredibly important to be able to develop a plan and have someone walk you through that, what I've decided to do is to offer my book for free. And so if you go to masteringvitalitynow.com, masteringvitalitynow.com, you just put your name and email there, and I will send you a digital copy of my book, Mastering Vitality. And so that you'll be able to put that plan together, because this is going to walk you through step by step of putting that plan that's going to be sustainable for you.
Great. Awesome. And if the listeners want to, connect with you in particular, how would they go about doing that?
Sure. I'm all over the place. You just Google me, Linell King. But you can go to my website, linellkingmd.com. Okay, linellkingmd.com. That's my website. Now, you're not going to be able to get the book for free on the website. I actually created this just for this teleseminar. And so you have to go to masteringvitalitybook.com. I'm not sure if I gave the correct URL before, but masteringvitalitybook.com. That's where you're going to get the ability to download the free book. If you want to contact me, you can just go to my website, linellkingmd.com.
All right, that's great.
And there's no O in my name. It's Linell Kingmd.com.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Linell, for joining me today. It's been a lot of great information. And thank you, everyone, for listening. We will obviously be back tomorrow with more of the Gut Health Turnaround series.